The Thompson has been one of the most dominant wall weapons we have ever seen in Call of Duty Zombies history. But why is that? Well, today we're going to be taking a look at not only its history in zombies, but also its real life history. So let's just jump right into it. The Thompson made its first appearance in Toten, where you could either purchase it off the wall for 1200 points plus 600 if you wanted to buy ammo, or you could also get it from the mystery box. And one funny thing about purchasing it off the wall is Treyarch has been lying to you. If you go up to the Thompson on Toten and you try to buy it from the wall, it will say it cost 1500, but in actuality, it only costs 12. So Treyarch has been trying to scam you out of 300 points for many years now. Now, the Thompson wasn't just on Toten, it was on every single World at War Zombies map. It made a reappearance in Verrückt, Shinanuma, and on Der Riese. And it also made a reappearance in all of the Black Ops 1 remakes. Now, once we get to Der Riese and the Thompson is able to be upgraded, it's going to turn into the Gibbs-O-Matic, where its damage is almost going to double, the fire rate is going to get an increase, the magazine size is going to go from 20 to 40, and the overall stock ammo is going to go from 200 to 250. And I think that's my only complaint about the Thompson, is it doesn't really carry that much ammo in reserve, but everything else about it I absolutely love. I think one of the things that made the Thompson so dominant in World at War Zombies was its placement. No matter where it was on the wall on whatever map, it was just in such a good location. On Toten, it's in the mystery box room, which is a very good training spot. In Verrückt, it's also in a very convenient location. In Shinanuma, it's located in the main hut, so if you want to get anywhere on the map, you're probably going to run by it. And on Der Riese, I think it's in its greatest location, 2 doors to the right of spawn, and then there it is. You're always going to be running by the Thompson, no matter where you're trying to go or what kind of strategy you're running. The Thompson is really never too far away from you, so it's always in a very convenient spot to get ammo. And even without Double Tap 2.0, it's still one of the more powerful weapons in World at War and Black Ops 1 Zombies, being able to take you a lot farther than majority of the other SMGs and wall weapons in the game. So in World at War and on the Black Ops 1 remakes, the Thompson reigns supreme as one of the best wall weapons. But just going through Black Ops 1 and majority of Black Ops 2, we really didn't see too much of the Thompson. That was until Mob of the Dead, where we got the M1927, where you can find this wall weapon yet again on Mob of the Dead for 1500 points and also buy ammo for 800. And the M1927 also reappeared on Origins in the mystery box. And I think what made the Thompson just perform so well despite it really not being as powerful was that it just carried so much ammo, especially on Mob of the Dead, where your wall weapon options are very limited. Getting a wall weapon with a 50 round magazine is going to be really good, especially when you combine that with Double Tap 2.0 to increase the damage. What's there not to love? And on both of those maps, you could also pack-a-punch the M1927 and upgrade it to the Speak Easy. And when you upgrade it, the fire rate is going to stay the same. How much it carries in the magazine, 50, is also going to stay the same, but it does get a stock ammo increase from 350 to 400. So upgrading this weapon, you really don't get much. It's going to increase in damage, but its fire rate and its magazine size and its overall stock ammo either don't change at all or barely change. But comparing the Speakeasy to a lot of other wall weapons, it's very easy to see why this thing flourished, while weapons like the Uzi might not have flourished as much. Now, moving on to Black Ops 3, the M1927 yet again made another appearance. It's going to be on 2 maps, Revelations and Origins. On Revelations, you can unlock the wall by doing a little Easter egg, and I will leave a link in the description to a video where I talk about all of the Easter eggs that you may have forgotten, and this is definitely one of them. So if you are curious to know more about that, check the link down below in the description. But after you have done this little Easter egg to get the M1927, it is now a wall weapon and you can purchase it for 1750 points and also get ammo for 880 points. And on Origins, it is also a wall weapon and it replaces one of the STG locations from Black Ops 2. Now, they did change up the M1927 a little bit for Black Ops 3. Upgrading it, it becomes the Untouchable, and its damage is going to be right around Black Ops 2 numbers. The fire rate when you upgrade it is also going to stay the same, but its magazine size, unupgraded, is going to be 50, and once you pack punch it, it becomes 100. Its stock ammo stayed the same at 350, but upgrading it, you go to 500. So the Black Ops 3 version, in my opinion, was definitely one of the best Thompsons we have seen in all of the games. But the reason it started to die out at this point was, number one, it was only on 2 selective maps, and one of them you had to do an Easter egg to get. And number 2, there's a lot of other weapons in Black Ops 3 that are very powerful and are just flat out better than the Thompson. We are no longer playing zombies where majority of the wall weapons are just flat out terrible. Now you actually have a pretty good selection. But still, a lot of people generally love the Thompson, mainly just because of how much ammo it actually carried in its magazine. And if we continue on the games, we go into Black Ops 4, the M1927 yet again made another appearance in Blood of the Dead, where you could either purchase it from the box or get it off the wall, where it would cost you 1,500 points or 750 for ammo. And yet again, they decided to change this up a little bit. The M1927 is going to carry 50 and 350 in stock, but once you upgrade it to the Speakeasy, it is no longer the Untouchable now. Now they reverted it back to the Speakeasy. It will upgrade to 70 in the stock and 420 in reserve. But at this point in time, it seems the Thompson's shine has started to dwindle and other weapons are just constantly outclassing it. And another version of the Thompson, the M1928, made 2 more appearances in Call of Duty World War II and COD Vanguard, but a lot of people generally don't play those games, so it's safe to say that the Thompson's reign has officially come to an end. But there was a time in zombies when this weapon reigned supreme as a wall weapon, and almost everyone would grab it when they played. But now that you know the history about the Thompson in zombies, and its rise and fall in dominance, let's talk about it in real life. The Thompson submachine gun was developed by a man named John T. Browning, and he originally had wanted to make a fully automatic rifle that would replace the bolt-action rifles of their day, which would have been the 1903 Springfield, and if you want to see a video on that, link will be down there below in the description. But because he was wanting to make a fully automatic rifle and the power of those rounds, the concept that he was wanting to use was not actually feasible, so they ended up going with the 45 ACP. Thompson had envisioned a trench sweeper, a trench broom, so to say. Something that could majorly help in trench warfare. Something that could provide one man a high volume of fire. That role which the BAR was trying to fill, but was kind of falling short, this is what the Thompson was meant to be. Originally called the Annihilator, it was made to increase the standard infantryman's power over regular bolt-action rifles. Unfortunately for Thompson, but luckily for the rest of the world, right before the prototypes could be sent over to Europe, the war had ended. The armistice was signed, and there was just simply no need for the Thompson. Or the Annihilator, I should say. So now that the war is over, they decide to rename the Annihilator to the Thompson submachine gun. And the first Thompson entered production as the M1921. And this was going to be available to all civilians for roughly around $200, which if you translate that to today, it's going to be around $3,300, which in my opinion, for a fully automatic gun, that's not too bad. Considering what gun prices are nowadays, I definitely would have probably grabbed me a Thompson. Now, the Thompson/Annihilator was originally developed for military use, but ironically enough, a lot of its first uses were not by the military. A lot of its first uses were actually from rebel groups. Nearly 150 M1921s were used by the IRA during the last month of the Irish Independence War. But the first use of the Thompson in combat was on June 13th, 1921, when West Virginia state troopers got into a little firefight with some striking miners, and no, not the Minecraft kind, who were firing at passing cars. And this was known as the Battle of Blair Mountain, and it is the largest armed uprising since the American Civil War. And up to 100 people were killed and many more arrested. So it seems like the Thompson, ever since its initial debut, has always been used by rebels, bad guys, the gangsters of its time. And during Prohibition and the Great Depression, gangsters and lawmen both found themselves on both sides of using the Thompson. And thanks to Hollywood and all of its films, most notably St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the Thompson started to develop this cult-like status and this bad boy gangster-esque era around it, and its history at this point has sure enough backed that up. And there are many more cases of rebel groups using the Thompson, but let's go ahead and skip to World War II. In 1938, the Thompson submachine gun was officially adopted by the US military. And there were mainly 2 types of Thompsons you would see. You had the M1928A1 and the M1 series, which is most notably the M1A1. And this is the main one you would see in video games and also in movies. Now you would think that the M1A1, the one that you mainly see in movies and on video games, was the pinnacle of the Thompson, but that is not the case. The M1928A1 would be the more fancier of the 2. You could either use it with a box mag and or a drum mag. It had a cuts muzzle brake and it had cooling fins on the barrel. And that's the reason why the barrel kind of looks like a outstretched slinky. And it also had a delayed blowback action with the charging handle on top. And the M1A1 decided to simplify it as much as possible, making it cheaper and easier to use. Why would you spend all of this money on making a fancy gun when a simpler version would easily do the same thing? And that's exactly what we got with the M1A1. Now, a lot of people would see the M1928A1 and its drum mag and think, that's what I want to use. If I'm going to war, I want a 50-round drum mag. I don't want to have to reload. But when you actually get to war, it's a completely different story. A lot of people had complaints and flat out despised the 50-round drum magazine. The Thompson is a very heavy gun, so you throw a 50-round drum magazine of 45 ACP, and you're not just going to be carrying one, you're probably going to be carrying more than that. This gun's already heavy enough, and you're adding all that on there, it's just going to make the gun even heavier. Plus, drum magazines are definitely not as reliable as stick magazines. They're going to rattle, they're going to make noise, they're going to be very difficult to transport compared to stick magazines, and they're also going to be way more of a pain in the ass to reload. So a lot of soldiers would actually prefer the stick magazines to the drum magazines. Maybe if you're just going to the range to shoot with your buddies, yeah, the drum magazine might be for you, but if you're in war and every second counts, I think the stick magazine is definitely the way to go. And in World War II, the Thompson was used in almost every theater war. You could find this being used by the British, by the Canadians, by the Australians, by the Indian Army. The Thompson was everywhere. You could even find some people in the Soviet Union using it, but because of a shortage of ammunition, it was not used as much by them as a lot of others. Eventually, the Thompson started to slowly get phased out. The British ended up replacing the Thompson with the Sten gun, and the Americans eventually tried to replace the Thompson with the M3, aka the grease gun. And for the most part, the US Army had wanted to replace the Thompson with the grease gun, but because of production delays and a lot of other, shenanigans, the Thompson still was the one you would mainly see in the war, even though the grease gun was way cheaper and way simpler to produce. And after World War II, the Thompson slowly started to be phased out. By the time the Korean War happened in 1950, the Thompson was still used widely by the US and South Korean militaries, mainly because there was just so many, but at that point they were replacing it with the M3. So the Thompson, whether in video games or in real life, is one of the most iconic weapons to date, with, in my opinion, one of the greatest looks you will ever see in a firearm. It's very easy to see why, no matter what you're doing, playing video games or happen to be in a war, why a lot of people sought this gun out. And you just won't understand how awesome this weapon is until you shoot one in real life. If you have a semi-automatic version, it just doesn't hit the same. I had one and I absolutely hated it, but once you get your hands on a fully automatic one and you get to shoot it and just feel how little recoil it is, but still feel the power that this thing can put down there, even though it was definitely very heavy compared to a lot of other full autos that I've shot, there's just something special about it that you can't help but love. So that is going to be the history of the Thompson, not only in video games, but also real life. Let me know what you guys think. What's your favorite version of it? Do you prefer the drum mag? Do you like the stick mag? Do you prefer the gangster era style, or do you prefer the military style? Let me know down there below in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hit that like, subscribe, and bell notification. And that's going to be it. See you in the next one. Peace.